Welcome to Storycraft Portal, your ultimate destination where real stories breathe life into emotions, mysteries, and unforgettable moments. Here, every story echoes with a heartbeat, drawing you into a world where reality feels stranger than fiction. Today, we unravel a haunting tragedy that shook the walls of Smith State Prison, a tale of forbidden love, betrayal, and heartbreak. An inmate and a young kitchen worker, bound by a secret relationship, met a devastating end that no one saw coming. As trust turned into terror and love drowned in the echo of gunshots. This story will leave you questioning how far emotions can push a human soul behind prison walls. In the darkest hours of the early morning, Smith State Prison's kitchen buzzed with the low hum of preparation. Among the workers, a young woman named Orion Shavia Grace moved swiftly, her apron dusted with flour, her eyes reflecting silent dreams. She was more than just another worker. She carried secrets heavier than the steel bars surrounding her. Somewhere deep within those prison walls, an invisible thread connected her to someone forbidden. Jadrika's heart, inmate number 53721, watched her with a longing that no prison sentence could chain. Their glances had turned into whispered conversations, their conversations into a dangerous bond. Beneath the clatter of trays and the aroma of cooking food, a love story was blooming, one not destined for a happy ending. Every smile shared between them was a silent rebellion. Every accidental touch a spark threatening to ignite a fire no one could control. The walls were listening. Fate was writing. The prison walls had ears, but their hearts remained deaf to the silent war building between duty and desire. Orion knew the risks. Every glance at Jadrika was a betrayal of her badge, a gamble with her future. Yet love, or what she thought was love, made her reckless. Jadrika, a man who once let anger dictate his life, found peace only in her smile. Every early shift, every late meal, became their sanctuary, a stolen hour in a world that refused to understand them. The clanging of utensils masked their whispered promises. Their worlds, though destined to clash, collided with tender defiance. No one saw the letters exchanged through crumpled napkins, the hurried smiles hidden beneath the mundane. Behind every door, every gaze, danger grew like a storm cloud. Orion believed she could save him. Jadrika believed she was his last chance. Fate, however, had already marked its final move. Morning after morning, their attachment deepened, and the risk sharpened its blade. Jadrika started planning something bigger, something that could break the invisible chains around him. Orion, caught between loyalty and longing, promised herself she would help him escape the hell he called home. Late one evening, under the soft rattle of steel trays, he whispered a dangerous dream into her ear. A plan formed, reckless and fragile as glass. Smuggling, weapons, freedom, words too heavy for a love so young. Orion hesitated, fear prickling her skin, but his desperate eyes melted her resistance. Prison walls suffocate hope. When it sparks, it burns too wildly. Unaware, the other guards joked about her dedication, her punctuality. No one suspected that behind the sweet smiles and disciplined steps, a ticking bomb was assembling. Jadrika had nothing to lose. Orion still had everything. And yet, love doesn't measure consequences, only desires. The night before the tragedy, the moon hung low, heavy with unseen sorrow. Orion didn't sleep. Her conscience screamed, but her heart whispered louder. She thought of Jadrika, caged by mistakes, reaching out for salvation. In her mind, she wasn't breaking rules. She was building a bridge to redemption. Meanwhile, Jadrika counted every heartbeat until the moment arrived. His mind twisted hope and desperation into a single, irreversible act. As the kitchen buzzed before dawn, she entered with trembling hands and a forced smile. Hidden in her belongings, something unthinkable had passed security unnoticed. A weapon, a betrayal of everything she once believed in. Their glances met across the room. No turning back, no forgiveness after today. In that fleeting second, Orion realized the line between love and destruction had vanished. Time slowed, stretching the moment into a silent scream no one else could hear. Forbidden threads. Jadricus, with trembling hands and frantic eyes, pulled the trigger inside the kitchen's heart. Workers screamed, diving behind counters and stainless steel shelves. Orion fell to the ground, her blood pooling into the cracks of the floor that once felt so familiar. Shock twisted her beautiful features into a frozen portrait of disbelief. Inmates shouted, alarms blared, and chaos swallowed the room. Jadricus didn't run. He knelt beside her, whispering apologies the world would never hear. With a final, trembling breath, he pressed the gun to his temple. Another shot rang out. Silence fell heavier than steel gates, slamming shut .2 souls. Lost in a place built for lost causes. .2 hearts, shattered beyond redemption. And somewhere above, maybe fate wept too, for the tragedy it had authored. Smith State Prison erupted into chaos. Sirens wailed, boots pounded against concrete, and orders barked into the thick, panicked air. Guards wrestled control of the situation while others stood frozen, staring at the unthinkable scene before them. Jadricus Hart and Orion Shavia Grace, two names that should have never crossed paths, now lay side by side, separated by death but united by tragedy. Rumors spread like wildfire among the inmates. Was it love? Was it revenge? Supervisors stormed the kitchen, their faces pale under the harsh fluorescent lights. No one could explain how a firearm had entered the facility, how a life was lost so easily under their watch. Outside, the rising sun cast long shadows across the prison yard, as if mourning the broken souls trapped inside. In that moment, Smith State Prison was no longer just a cage. It was a graveyard for forgotten hopes. The investigation began immediately. Crime scene tape cordoned off the kitchen as investigators documented every broken piece of that violent morning. Wardens' faces twisted in anger and shame. How had this breach happened under their noses? An emergency meeting was called, guards and administrators summoned with grim urgency. Orion's colleagues wept silently, their memories flashing back to her laughter, her hope. Jadricus's criminal record was dissected mercilessly, his past mistakes now seen as inevitable signs. Detectives combed through surveillance footage, freezing frames where stolen glances now looked like warnings. The media caught scent of the scandal, helicopters buzzing over the prison like vultures. Grieving families were left to pick up pieces too shattered to mend. Trust in the system, already brittle, crumbled further. The prison wasn't just locking up inmates. It was burying its shame beneath layers of concrete, silence, and unanswered questions. The suicide note changed everything. Hidden inside Jadricus's uniform pocket, it revealed emotions rawer than the violence that ended their lives. Scrawled in shaky handwriting, he spoke of loneliness, despair, and love so consuming it blinded him to consequences. She made me feel human again. One line read, trembling between sorrow and regret. Investigators read and reread the letter, piecing together the impossible truth. Orion had been manipulated by love, but also willingly walked into the fire. Behind the headlines and judgment, there lived a story few could comprehend. One of two broken people finding solace in each other's wounds. But society had no mercy for such complexity. To them, Orion had become a traitor. Jadricus remained a monster. Yet somewhere in that kitchen, their dreams still lingered, stained into the floor where blood once pooled, whispering stories too painful for the living to bear. News outlets tore apart every piece of Orion's life. Her childhood photos, college dreams, old social media posts, all repurposed for public consumption. Jadricus's mugshot was plastered across every screen, the symbol of another system failure. Meanwhile, Smith State Prison underwent a brutal internal audit. Officers were suspended, protocols rewritten, gates reinforced. Whispers floated among guards. How long had they known? Could this have been prevented? Families grieved in isolation, too ashamed to speak publicly. Orion's mother clutched her daughter's favorite childhood book, her fingers tracing the worn-out pages through tears. Jadrikis's cell remained untouched, the bunk still unmade, a silent testament to a broken mind. Somewhere, justice was demanded, but justice had arrived too late, wrapped not in courtroom victories, but in body bags and broken hearts. No punishment could undo the choices made in those quiet, stolen moments between two desperate souls. The case closed officially 3 months later, but no one felt closure. Internal reports blamed security lapses. New policies were printed, laminated, and nailed to walls already covered in warnings. A framed photo of Orion was placed quietly in a hallway no one visited. Jadrikis's name was whispered only in curses or regrets. For Smith State Prison, life returned to its cold, brutal rhythm, but something had cracked permanently in its foundations. Among the new hires, rumors of the tragedy became warnings. Don't get close. Don't trust. Don't forget. Yet late at night, when the kitchen lights flickered and the halls fell silent, some claimed to hear faint echoes. Laughter, whispers, a gunshot. Whether ghosts or guilt, no one could say. But one thing was certain. In a place built to kill hope, love had dared to bloom, only to be buried deeper than any grave could reach.